Right, well, welcome everybody to our April meeting of the Google User Group. For those that don't know, I know everybody here knows, but if anybody's watching live or watching later, this is a monthly meeting that we do. It kind of covers a couple of different groups. Locally here, we're representing what we call the SPARCC. Google User Group, SPARCC being the Stark Portage Area Computer Consortium here in Canton, Ohio. We're an ITC. We support schools in and around the Stark and Portage areas. And so we like to get together once a month and talk about googly things. But this also overlaps with a group that we call GEG Ohio, the Google Educator Group of Ohio. Google asked maybe a year or so ago that people create GEGs, these groups to help educators connect. In different states and different countries around the world, and so I'm also plugged into the Google Educator Group of Ohio, and so this overlaps. So we're just trying to, we're all inclusive, and, you know, we want everybody plugged in, so we're happy for anybody to be here with us, and this does sort of, you know, cover both of those groups. We try to meet once a month, and it's typically the third Friday of the month. It has caused some interesting meetings in the past. Like last month we met at the Neotech conference because that's when the third Friday of the month was, and all the other Fridays were eaten up with other things, so that was fine. We had a kind of an odd meeting, a little different, but it was really fun. A whole lot of people at that one because we were all there live together. And then next month we'll have another odd one as well because of when it falls. But we just want to welcome everybody. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here in just a moment, but before I do, I know these folks will be chiming in throughout the session, but I want to make sure each of them gets a chance to introduce themselves briefly here. So I'm going to start with Anthony, and then Brian, and then Nikki, because that's the order you are on my screen. And if you guys, as I go through, if you just want to mention real quick, you know, who you are, where you're from, that would be fantastic. So Anthony, why don't you start us out?
I'm Anthony Luskery. I'm part of the SPARCC team, and today I am located in an undisclosed location north of, no, actually I'm in Ravenna, and the Ravenna High School in the library. They were nice enough to host us today. And Eric, I just realized next time it's going to have to be live from outside in Dayton for me.
Because yeah, next time you won't even be in this. You'll be like at your
Yes.
is it the radio conference thing?
Yes. So,
All right.
I'm outside, I guess.
You'll be on location. You'll be outside. Yes, exactly. Well, you've got the technology to do. If anybody has the technology to do it, Anthony, it's you. You'll find a way to broadcast. So let's go over to Brian. Brian, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Brian Dipfeld. I'm the Technology Director for Indian Valley Local Schools in Jeanette and Hutton, Ohio, and also an authorized Google Education Trainer and Google Certified Administrator.
And I love your little Groot guy in the background there behind you. I see a Groot guy. I see an Android guy. Very nice. Good.
All sorts of goodies back there.
Up there, baby. All right, and then Nikki, let's pop over to you.
Hi, I'm Nikki Statler. I'm the Director of Technology at the Dayton Early College Academy here in Dayton, Ohio. I'm also an authorized Google Education Trainer, and I'm excited to be with you all today.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Nikki. Just for technical purposes, for whatever reason, Nikki, you came through fine, just a little quiet on your end compared to the other two. So you might want to check with your volume setting on your mic as we move forward. I definitely heard you, and I think everybody did too. Just fair warning, it was just a bit lower in volume than the rest of them. All right, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and the three of you guys, please interrupt me any and all times. And people here who are with us, joining us today, stop me at any point in time. Even though this is live and being watched by millions, don't be nervous about saying things out loud. No, it's not millions, but a little less than that. We'll ignore the fact that this is being recorded for generations to hear. All right, let me go ahead and let me share my screen here. And whoops, that's not the screen I want to share. It's that one. Yay, there we go. I think I finally got this figured out now. Okay, so what I've got shared up there is what people sitting in the room here should see as well, and that is our agenda for today. So, same as always, guys. We have a live editable Google Doc. Okay, you can type in this, you can make changes, you can interact with it in any way you want, and do so. For people that don't know how to get to this document, my recommendation to you is to go to this address that you see here at the top. It's google.apps.sparc.org/user-group. That address will get you to this page here. Let me show you where that takes you out to. Go ahead and pull this up here. It's going to take you directly to the user group page right there. And let me zoom in a bit because you may not be able to see that real well. All right, so if you go to google.apps.sparc.org/user-group, that's where we keep all of the links for all of these meetings. And what you'll find on that page is just a little blah blah information about, well, we know what the meeting is and how they work. But then you get to all the links for each meeting we've had this year. So for each meeting, you'll see we have locations. These are done at 2 different physical locations, typically. Now, that's not always the case. It doesn't always work out quite like that. But we usually host them here at SPARCC, here in Canton, Ohio. And then we also host them somewhere in Portage County, Ravenna, Garfield, Streetsboro, different places like that. In addition to that, you'll see there's a link to the live video for each session. So like today, if you were to click on this link, that would take you out to the event for this particular meeting, and you'll see that you could play the video and watch it live there. The link over from that is the agenda. So that's how you get into our Google Doc agenda. That's going to take you to this. And we've got a bunch of people in there. Fantastic. We've got 10 viewers in there. Awesome, guys. Glad to have you all in the doc with us. And then next to there is where eventually the recorded video goes. So after this is done, I'll try to do a little trimming up to it, take off any dead air at the beginning of it, and then the final video will show up there. So feel free to go back through previous months if you find that to be useful to you. All those are there. And the one for May I have not updated yet, but that is not correct, and we'll talk about that. We're actually not going to be here and at Garfield. We will be at a conference again for the one in May. So ignore that one. We'll have to fix that one. All right, let's keep on going. So in addition to that, I do have a couple of quick notes at the top of the document here, and that is it is editable, so you definitely can type in here. I always let you know if anybody needs to be in the Hangout rather than just watching it. So if you would like to join us in the Hangout, just like Anthony's in the Hangout, Brian and Nikki are in the Hangout, if you would like to get into the actual Hangout, you can always send me an email at erickurtz@gmail.com. Let me know that you'd like to jump in, and I can send you an invite. Later on, Jess will be in the Hangout with us, as she's going to be sharing some things as well. So you can always do that. I will try to monitor my email throughout the session and see if anybody does request to jump into the Hangout. We'd love to hear from you, especially if you're a person who's going to be presenting at the Google's Education On Air coming up here in May. The online, well, we'll see this here in just a bit. It's May, hold on a second, May 14th and 15th. If you're, no, I'm sorry, no, I just went past it. Sorry, further down, there it is. May 8th and 9th, sorry, May 8th and 9th. If you're presenting as a Google Education On Air presenter, we're going to talk a little bit about that later. And so if you're a presenter at that, and that's one of the reasons that Nikki's with us today, she's one of the presenters at that, we do want to chat about that in a little bit more depth later on, and I would love for presenters to jump on and just plug your session. Just tell us what it is you're going to be presenting and so forth. So again, drop me an email between now and then, and I will pull you into the Hangout. All right, guys, let's get at it. So as we start scrolling down through here, we've already done welcomes and introductions, so I think that's all good. Hi, I'm Eric, in case I didn't say that. Important links, probably the only real big thing to point out to you guys here is there is a sign-in form. and we'd love to know who has attended these meetings, and you can get a certificate of attendance. So you'll see that under important links, the second thing down is the Google User Group sign-in form. If you click that and go out to that, it's just a very simple Google form that asks you to pick the date of your meeting, pick how you watched it, whether it was online or at SPARCC or at Ravenna in this case. Sometimes it's Streetsboro, sometimes it's Garfield, just depends. And you can fill that out, hit submit, and that way we'll know you attended, and we'll send you a PDF certificate of attendance for being at the meeting, and that's great. There's a bunch of other links there. You guys can always check those out yourselves. Next section down is updates. We always like to mention how our user groups are doing as far as member counts go. We do represent two different user groups here. There's the SPARCC Google user group, which can be found at the link that you see here. We currently have, at least as of this morning, it was 354 members. I think we're still pretty much hanging around there. I don't think anything would have changed since this morning. Nope. Excellent, still there at 354. And so this is a Google Plus community that is more specific to the Northeast Ohio area, the SPARCC area, but anybody is definitely welcome to join. And then the other one is GEG Ohio, and we had about 485 members last time I checked, and I bet we're still probably sitting right there, and yes, we are. And that is also a Google Plus community, and both of these are just a great way to stay plugged in between the meetings. Brian posts things, I post things, Nikki posts things. We get lots of different folks who post great information, ask questions, share resources, have discussions. So this is a great way to stay connected to other educators in and around Ohio that are using Google Apps for education. So if you have not joined those communities, please use those links to pop out there and join those communities. So I mentioned that next month would be a little bit different. So under the updates, you'll see that it turns out the third Friday of May happens to be the same time as the Ohio Google Summit in Sandusky in Kalahari. Anybody attending that in this group here? Two folks are? Okay, so two of the folks here, I'm attending that as well. Nikki and Brian, are you guys attending the summit?
Yes.
Not going to be able to make it this time.
Oh, because Brian will be there, Nikki's not going to be able to make it. I know Anthony has a conflict as well. So it turns out that that is the Ohio Google Summit. It's a two-day event, May 14th and 15th. So we're going to be hosting our meeting there. They've been very gracious. They're going to give us a nice room, and it's going to be a little bit earlier. Instead of 9 to 11, it'll be 8 to 9. So it'll be nice, bright, and early there on that Friday morning. But we'll get everybody kicked off with a really fun, unique meeting. It won't be quite like our normal meetings. We'll try to get more people from the group there jumping up and participating and sharing. We'll run through some of our normal things, but for the most part it'll be a fun kickoff to the second day there of that summit. So please feel free to join us. It will be a Hangout on Air though, so if you can't be there, no problem at all. You can still jump into the Hangout, you can watch it live, and you can watch the recording. At the same time, I wanted to mention they've also been very gracious, and they're giving us a booth there at the summit. So we're going to have a GEG Ohio booth for both of the days there at the summit. So if anybody who's a member of GEG Ohio or any way interested wants to be involved in that at all, let me know. I don't think we're going to try to man the booth the whole time because we all need to present and we want to attend things, but we're going to have some flyers out there. We're going to have some screens set up with some things running. So we'll try to have a lot of good information, but if you're anyway connected to GEG Ohio and you'd like to hang out at the booth sometimes, answer some questions, help people out, you absolutely can do so. So just let me know, anybody who wants to either help out with the booth or who wants to help out with the May meeting. If you're going to be there at the summit and you'd like to maybe plug into that May meeting, just let me know, and we'll take it from there. Other than that, let's see. Next up is upcoming events. As always, we mentioned about our SPARCC webinars. We do about one a week. Just to let you know, here's the list of the upcoming webinars. Anthony's going to do one on spreadsheets, his follow-up, part 2. I'm going to start a series on Google Sites. just a part 1 on that one. Anthony's going to do another one on internet safety for students and teachers, and then I'm going to do one on Chrome web apps and extensions. So that's over the next 2 months. We should have those scheduled, and then if you ever want to see the ones in the past, there's a link here to our previous webinars. I think we're up to about, Anthony, did you have the number? Was it 13? What are we up to? Oops, I can't hear you, buddy. You might be muted.
Up to 5.
Oh, there you go. Looks like Anthony's having a little bit of technical problems there. I cannot hear you, and you seem to be frozen. Okay, that's fine. But yeah, it's somewhere around 13 or so, and so definitely feel free to take advantage of any of these webinars as we continue to try to put out about one a week. Each of these webinars has the video that you can watch that lasts for about an hour. And then after the video, there is a quiz you can take to earn a certificate of attendance. So again, great way to get PD hours to turn into your LPDC. So take advantage of those if you find those to be useful. All right. Below that, a couple other quick reminders of upcoming things. We always want to plug GAF Chat. Who's taking part in GAF Chat in this room? Anybody starting to jump into it yet? You lurk. Okay, we got lurking. That is fine. Lurking is perfectly fine. A couple months back, we had GAF Chat as one of our focuses, and we talked about GAF Chat. It's a Twitter chat. Tuesdays, like the maybe the first and third Tuesday of the month, something like that. And well, here's the website. I can just jump right out to it. It's really great. Fantastic folks. Jumping on there, moderating that, and the topic for the next one, which is actually this upcoming Tuesday, it's really close, is going to be using Google Apps to produce videos. So they try to announce well in advance what the topics are. They give you the questions, so you can even think ahead of time what you might want to share. Then they always post afterwards the archive of all of those chats. So you can go back through later if you missed a chat entirely, or if you were there and you just couldn't keep up, which I never can. It goes so crazy fast. So I always need to go back and check the chat archives to see the things that I missed. So that one's coming up. Now this next one I did not add to the list, so thank you to whoever did. I appreciate that. GCon 360. Now this is by the folks who do the Google Guru. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Google Guru site, but it's a great website where they put out lots and lots of videos and helpful information about Google Apps. And they have an online conference coming up here very soon, April 27th, 28th, and 29th. And as you go through, it'll show you each day the different sessions that they have. And these are, again, all online. A lot of really awesome folks leading these sessions. And you can view these through their GCon website. So definitely plug into that, take a look and see what's there. They're billing it as the largest online Google Apps conference ever, and that might be true until May 8th. So they may be able to hold on to that title for about a week or so, because I'm pretty sure that the Education on Air one, as far as quantity of sessions, probably is going to take that title. And that's the next thing, which is the Google Education on Air. And I do want to spend a little bit more time, a little bit more detailed time talking about that here in just a little bit. But I'll just at least mention it now. That's 8th and 9th. Basically, Google has 2 days of online webinars. And the first day is more like keynote speakers, and then the second day is just a large collection of a wide variety of sessions. So day one, more like keynotes and panels. When you get to day two, you've got 4 different categories: educator, administrator, IT, and anyone. And inside each of those are just loads and loads and loads of sessions. So you have, I don't know how many, I'm sure somebody has a count somewhere, but it's got to be over 100 sessions running on day 2, going from 7 in the morning to 9:30 in the evening. And of course, all of those are Hangouts on Air. All of them are recorded. What a phenomenal amount of PD that's being created all in one fell swoop there. So thanks so much to Google for organizing that. You know, if you can plug into those sessions live, great. If not, there's a lot to work through over time.
Eric?
Yes, please go ahead.
Sorry about that. You might have noticed the lights dimmed and I disappeared. And
Yes,
I'm
you did.
again, I did add the G-Con thing into there. But I'm not sure what happened, but I lost all my connectivity here, and now I'm back again.
All right. Well, very good. Well, thank you for putting that in there, Anthony, because I was not aware of that coming up. So thank you. Next couple things. We mentioned the Ohio Google Summit, May 14th and 15th. That's in Kalahari in Sandusky at the Kalahari Water Park. Then we've got our own training coming up here at SPARCC this summer, Google Boot Camp. Google training. These are 4-day boot camps that run in June and 2 of them in July. And they cover pretty much all of the core things related to Google Apps, Gmail, Calendar, Drive, Docs, Sheets, Forms, Slides, Drawing Sites, Chrome, and more. The focus being that if you go through these, it's a good preparation if you'd like to take the Google certification tests. So that after you take the certification test, you would be typically what they call a Google educator. Now, they are changing the naming of some of this stuff. They're switching around some of the names, but the tests are still staying the same. And so this would allow you to become a certified Google educator. And then that, if you want to, you can go the next step beyond and you can apply to become a Google education trainer. Now, speaking of which, we have somebody in the room here who just got certified as a trainer now. Oh, fantastic. So Kelly Calderon is here with us. Kelly, I hate to just throw you on the spot, but anything you want to say about this process of getting certified?
Well, I spent a lot of time studying the material for the Google Educator, and I learned a lot. I thought I knew a lot, but there was a lot that I definitely learned, so that is well worth it. And then Google Trainer application, it is quite involved, but it's worth it. Yeah, you can make a video and put up a resume.
Well,
yeah.
Oh, well, we're very happy for you. Welcome to the group. Yes, so basically what Kelly did was she went to the second level of this, and the first level is to become what they call a Google educator. You basically pass the exams. There's 4 required exams and then one that you choose from a selection which one you want to take. So you have to do the one on Gmail, the one on Calendar, you have to do the one on Docs, and you have to do the one on Sites. What did you pick for your optional one? Was it Chrome?
I think it was Chromebooks.
Chromebooks, yeah. There's Chrome, Chromebooks, and tablets. So there's some options there that you can go with if you want. And at that point, after you pass those tests, you become a Google educator. If you want to become an education trainer, then that's where you go ahead and fill out an application, you write up a little case study, you do a video, you do all those things. Does that still sound right?
Yeah.
A resume, exactly. You have like references from people that you've done trainings for, absolutely. So congratulations to Kelly. That is fantastic. All right. So for others that are interested in that, if this seems like something that would help you with it, definitely feel free to take a look at our boot camp information there. And let me see, next up, would somebody like to speak to this? Because I don't know anything about this, the ITSCO Tech Director Series sessions.
Yeah, I put that on there. Ultimately, I'm doing a couple training sessions at ITSCO here in the summer, July 14th through the 16th. And the link there shows you what those sessions are. And the concept behind it was to come up with sessions that were more oriented to technology directors, or at least those that handle the services that are being taught over those 3 days. So, you know, you don't have to attend all 3 if you don't want to. They're all separate sessions, but ultimately, one of the sessions is going, you know, in depth on the Google Admin Console. And other sessions, the new tablets with Google Play for Education, going through the whole process of that. And the other one is Google Certified Administrator training. So that will help you get prepared for that exam if you would decide to do it.
Excellent, fantastic. Well, that is great. And where physically are these being held?
At ITSCO's office in Columbus.
In Columbus, excellent. Okay, so
Yep.
these are in Columbus. Well, that's great. For anybody in Ohio, very centrally located, and with Brian leading those, you know you'll have excellent instruction. So very good. Thanks for sharing that, Brian.
No problem.
And then did anybody want to mention about EdCamp Global? I did not put that in there.
Yeah, I put that in there, Eric.
Okay, let us know about that.
Sure. EdCamp Global is going to be a 24-hour virtual EdCamp. It's all going to be hosted online. It starts on July 31st at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, or Central Daylight Time, and we'll go through 7 p.m. on the 1st. And there's sessions about all kinds of things. It's going to operate just like a regular EdCamp, so that it's going to be an open discussion. It's not necessarily going to be led sessions, but opportunities for educators to meet each other and discuss topics. I know I'm working on a discussion on one-to-one programs and best practices. There's going to be things on digital citizenship, video creation, mobile learning, game-based learning, just about anything that's a hot topic right now in education.
All right, fantastic. I'm noticing a trend here with an awful lot of online PD. We're seeing so much of that, and well, I mean, we're doing it right now ourselves, but we'll talk more about that as we go on. All right, let's pause there for a second. Anybody have anything else as far as news, upcoming events, anything we need to know about? Yes?
I've got a question.
Sure.
Anthony's presentation May 5th on NFAT, does he have a time?
Oh, thank you very much for asking. Yeah, the question was, with the upcoming webinars that we have, they should all follow the same pattern, which is from 3:30 to 4:30. That is, now, I apologize, we don't have all the links into all of those just yet. I know those should all get in there very shortly, but if you go to the main page, the main tech integration page, and instead of going to the recorded trainings, if you go to the PD schedule, there is more details than I have on our agenda today. So if I scroll down on the PD schedule, there you'll get to the webinars, and you'll see that it lists 3:30 to 4:30. So I'm sorry, I did not include all of that in the handout there, or our agenda for today. And then there will be a link in there as well. For all of these, basically what happens is if you go to our PD schedule and you pick one of these and say, oh, I want to learn about Google Sites, and you give a click on that, there is a big register button. Basically, it allows us to be able to send you reminders and give you all the links that you need. But honestly, it's really just this page. As long as you can get to the event page or the page for each of the webinars, that is going to become the live video when the webinar runs. So, all right. Very good. Well, let's go ahead and move on unless anybody else has anything that they need to mention. And in this next section, we always like to talk about what's new with the Goog. So what's new over the last month in Google Apps. And as I run through these, we're not going to go through every one in detail. There's just too much information. Google is a constant moving target. There's always new things. We never can quite keep up with all of it. But I'm going to try to hit some of the most important ones and at least briefly mention some of the others. But Nikki, Brian, Anthony, you guys interrupt me at any point if there's something that you've got more experience with on these, or anybody here, if you got questions or comments, please do that as well. Now, fair warning, some of these are more behind-the-scenes things, like administrator things. So if you're not a Google Apps administrator, some of it doesn't apply to you, but it's still good to know, oh, hey, we can do that now. Our school can do that. So even if you're just an end user, it's helpful to know. All right, so first thing, and again, this is starting from the last meeting. So the last meeting was like the 17th of March, so we're picking up right after that last meeting with new things. So the first thing to mention is that we can now push out add-ons to users. Now let's explain that real quick. We're used to the idea of being able to push out Chrome web apps and extensions. That's not new. We've been doing that for a long time. We love that. That's one of the beauties of Chromebooks and the Chrome browser is I can find an awesome web extension. I can find an awesome web app. I can say, you know what? All the 5th grade kids need Powtoon, or all the high school kids need Read and Write for Google, or all whoever, and whoosh, we can push that out through the admin console. You can also do that through Google Play for Education. So teachers, if they're given the right to do so, can go to Google Play for Education and they can find an awesome web app, an awesome web extension, and they can push that out to their students. So students don't have to go and get their own installations of web apps and extensions. Well, we've been excited, though, for a while, hoping that we would have the same ability for add-ons. Now, you may say, well, Eric, what's the difference? Don't forget, add-ons are the things that are in Google Docs, Google Sheets, and Google Forms under the add-ons menu. So when I'm talking about add-ons, I'm not talking about what we normally think of with the Chrome Web Store, with, so let me pop to my Chrome Web Store here, if I can get to it. There we go. So the Chrome Web Store, that is what we use for web apps, for web extensions, things like that. Instead, add-ons, when I'm mentioning that, I'm talking about the add-ons menu up at the top of Docs, Sheets, and Forms. And these you can then go in and you can say get add-ons, and then you can browse for the add-ons, and you can find add-ons that you like, and then you can install those, and those will be available for you within those programs. Well, we now have the ability to push add-ons out to our end users. It's not quite as granular as what we do right now with web apps and extensions. It's a little bit, I find it a little bit odd the way they've set it up, but I'll show you real quick. Let me go ahead and drag my admin console over here so you guys can see this and make sure that that is visible here. Oops, got to sign in there. All right, very good. So the way it works is they've put it in a kind of a strange place. They've put it in the marketplace is where they put it. So to push out add-ons, instead of going to like device management like you normally would for Chrome, you actually have to go to apps, and then you have to go to marketplace apps, and then once you get in there, you have to go to the little plus button to add new marketplace apps up here in the top right-hand corner. At that point, you're going to see all the old marketplace apps that we've been used to seeing, but now you're going to see mixed into there add-ons. So if I come down here for a little bit, I'm sure I'll start hitting some. So here's Doctopus, here's GMath. These are the add-ons that we're used to seeing. Here's Easy Accents. And so what you can do is you can say, hey, I want to push out Easy Accents, for example, to my users. The thing that makes this a little bit different, though, is when you push it out, you have to push it out by organization. And so rather than being able to go in and pick, oh, this organization and that organization, and you can only pick one. I've not found a way to do anything else. Basically, I have to go in and I have to pick one organization. So I could say, okay, I'm going to send it out to every single user in my domain, or I'm just going to send it out to all of the students. I'd have to find the students organization. I could say I'm pushing this out to all of the students. I don't seem to have as much granular control like with the web apps and extensions. I can go org by org and either turn it on or turn it off. If I do this, it will push out that add-on, but it'll push it out to that whole entire organization and everybody below there. So I don't think it's perfect, but you know, at least it's something. It's better than nothing. At least we now have an option where before there really wasn't any way to push that out. Now, I don't know if anybody knows differently, Anthony, Brian, or Nikki, if I'm missing something there, but that appears to be the way you have to go to push those out. Yep. All right. All right. Let's keep on cruising here. Next up, not a real big thing here, but I think it kind of emphasizes what we've been talking about with Google+. Google+ seems to be getting dismantled, not shut down. They're not shutting down Google+, but it appears that they're starting to take the different pieces that are part of the Google+ suite, and they're breaking them apart. And we've seen this recently. We've seen how Hangouts, you used to have a Google+ account. Now you don't. You can just have a Gmail account. Well, photos have now been added into Google Drive. So if I go to my Google Drive, and if I expand out my drive, I now have inside of my drive a new folder called Photos somewhere. There it is, Google Photos. So now I have a new folder called Google Photos. And all I had to do was accept this, to turn it on, and now Google Drive has pulled in all of my photos from 2004 through 2015. And so it's pulled these over from my Google Plus account, and it's got it by year and by month. So I can go in and I can see all of my images for each year, each month, and it's showing up in my Drive instead of showing up. What also shows up in Google Plus as well, but now it's also showing up in Drive. So on one hand, this is just kind of convenient. It's nice that I can get to it in two places, but it seems to go back to the idea that they are starting to break apart these different services. So Google Plus Photos is not necessarily going to be tied just to Google Plus anymore. We're going to see the Photos tool being available really for anybody who has a Google account. All right. The next one, conditional formatting with Sheets. Now, Anthony was very happy to see this. He loves Sheets, and I think I've got one already pulled up here. Yeah, let me pull this one over to show you how this works. So basically, we've had the ability to do conditional formatting in Google Sheets for a while, and by that, what we mean is you could say, you know what, I want to highlight everything in red if it is above a certain amount, or highlight things in yellow if they're blank, or that sort of thing. And I've used this a lot of times when I'm looking through a big spreadsheet and I want to find blank spots, or I want to find numbers that are out of range, that are too large. Well, they have made conditional formatting a little bit fancier now, so that if I come in here, for example, here's some temperatures, and if I were to come in, if I were to highlight these cells that have these temperatures, and if I were to go to format,
You're here on Friday, April 17th.
getting a little bit of feedback there. Sorry, somebody in the background there is getting some. Maybe I have to mute your mic. I'm not sure who it is at the moment. But if I go to Format and I go to Conditional Formatting, I now get this pop-up over here on the right-hand side that allows me to apply either a single color or a color scale, which is kind of cool. I can also do bold, italic, strike through, and different formatting that I didn't have in the past. But what's really nice is the color scale. I like this one a lot. I can pick a color for the low and a color for the high, and it will kind of do a gradient between the two. So I could say, you know what, for the lowest values, since this is temperature, let's go with like a blue, and for the highest values, let's go with one of our reds here, and then it will go ahead and do a color gradient on there to conditionally format these from the lowest value to the highest value and a blend in between. So pretty neat new feature there for conditional formatting. This next one, I do not know how I missed. I did not know about this until I started putting the notes together for today, and this is probably one of the best things on the whole list, and I don't know how I missed this. Back on March 31st, Google announced that they announced this is weird. They don't usually do this. This was very unusual for them. They announced ahead of time changes that were coming. And that doesn't happen very often. Usually it's like, oh, the day of, you find out now there's something new. Back here, they said, here's new things that are coming to Docs and Drive and Classroom, and they mentioned things like, the ability to reset your passwords and to share outside of your organizations more easily and other things like that. And we'll talk about some of these in more detail. But this very first one, I completely missed it. They're adding what they're calling trusted domains, which basically right now, if you're using Google Classroom, you can only have people in your class if they're in your same domain. So they have to be in your school. Well, they've announced that they're going to add this new thing called trusted domains so that you can have more than one domain that can get into Google Classroom. And I think that's not perfect, but it's a step in the right direction. I'm really excited to see that. So they're saying, for example, a student could join classes in other domains, like a high school student taking college classes. And so you'll be able to configure these trusted domains for Drive and for Classroom to have that ability to share to enroll students into your class that are not necessarily in your domain. I thought that is awesome. That's been something they've been asking for, people have been asking for a long time since Classroom has been out, and I think that's really, really neat. And it sounds like we're also going to be able to have that same control inside of Google Drive, that if we want to share a document, not just with the public and not just with our domain, but with other trusted domains. So that's a really neat one that they announced. And then we're going to hit on some of these other ones here, but one that I wanted to point out specifically right now I thought was really cool is the ability that is coming to disable downloading and printing of Google Docs. Because people mention this a lot of times. They'll say, you know, if you share something view only, well, you know, people can read it, but they can also make a copy of it, they can change it, they can do this, they can do that. So now what they're saying is that you're going to have the ability to disable downloading, printing, and copying. This option will disable exporting from Drive, and it will basically turn off those features that you won't be able to click File, Make a Copy. Make a Copy won't be there. You won't be able to click File, Download As. You won't be able to click File, Print. And so that is coming. I don't know when. I don't believe it's been turned on yet. I haven't seen it yet. But they announced that that was on its way. And I thought, again, that was kind of unusual. They usually don't give us a sneak peek of what's coming. But I'm really glad that they did, because that is something that people do ask a lot of times about. My only concern is this was the 31st. It was incredibly close to April Fool's Day, so I hope none of this is a joke. I hope these are all real, but as far as I know, they do appear to be real. All right. And again, definitely interrupt me, guys, if any of you have feedback or comments on any of those items. Yes, go ahead.
A second, where you said that they're going to disable downloading and printing. I didn't catch that whole thing.
Absolutely.
Is that per document? Like you can control that per document?
Per document is my understanding. So this was again on March 31st, and the article is Trusted Domains Coming to Classroom and Drive and More. That's part of the and more. If you follow that link, you'll see the article talks about a bunch of new things that are coming over the next month or so to Drive and Classroom. Well, the one that I was interested in, I'll zoom in a little bit more here so you can see it a little bit better, says disable download and printing. It says when you're sharing, when what you're sharing is only meant for a few select people, you can keep it for their eyes only by disabling download, printing, and copying. This option to disable exporting from Drive will be available in the advanced sharing settings for each file. It'll work for doc sheets, slides, and other files. Now, apparently, I mean, I don't believe that's happened yet. If I come here and I go to share our agenda for today, and if I go to the advanced settings, yeah, see, I don't see anything there yet. And so that must be something that is still coming, but they said it's going to be in the advanced settings. So that's the idea, is you would go to share, you'd go to advanced, and from there, there's going to be something in here that's going to let you turn off downloading, printing, and copying. Pretty sweet. Neat stuff. All right. Right along with that, on the 31st, Google announced something that we've been asking for a very long time, and that is more granular control over Drive sharing at the organizational level. Now, what I mean by that is, in the past, if you wanted to go in and allow people to share Google documents with the rest of the world, you had to do that for your entire domain. There wasn't any option to narrow that down. So if I go into my admin console, and if I go to my apps, let me pull this up here real quick. If I go to my apps, and if I go to Google Apps, and if I go to Google Drive, and if I go to sharing, it used to be that this was all or nothing. You either had this on or you had it off. So for example, I'll zoom in a bit here so you can see this a little bit better. For example, the ability to share files outside of your domain. You either had to turn that off and then, nope, sorry, you are not allowed to share anything outside of your school. Or you had to turn it on, but it was for the whole domain. This on the left was not there. You did not have the ability to pick the organization. Now you do. Now you can say, you know what? I don't want elementary students perhaps sharing outside of our domain. I'm going to turn that off for the elementary students, but I'm going to leave it on for everybody else. That has been a long time coming. It finally is here. We now can do that. In addition, while I'm on the screen, I might as well just cover it because this is another one of the bullet points that comes up in our list today, and that is there is now an option to allow external users to preview your file without signing into Google. Now, let me explain what this means. If you make a document public, nobody needs to sign in. If it's public, if I go into my settings and I say share this, make it publicly viewable. If I do that, then that's right. Nobody needs an account. Anybody can view it. But if I share it with a specific person by their email address, okay, so if I send this to johnsmith@yahoo.com, and johnsmith@yahoo.com doesn't have a Gmail account, in the past it would prompt him for one. So if I shared it not publicly, so again, let me go back to my my document here. If I come here and I hit share, and if I come to advanced and I say, you know, I'm going to make this public. If I make it public, that's fine. Anybody can get to it. You don't need a special account. But if instead, if I put in somebody's email address down here, and that person does not have a Google account, when they get that invite, it's going to ask them to set up a Google account or to log in. Well, not anymore. That doesn't have to be the case. Now, with this change, what you can do is you can switch this little radio button to say allow external users to preview the file without Google sign-in. So when it's a explicit sharing invite, now they can just view it themselves as well. So that's nice. That'll make it makes collaboration easier when we're not having to deal with those sort of hurdles for people. And that was the next bullet down. All right, next section we're going to hit is a bunch of devices. We had a flurry of announcements at the beginning of April, end of March, on new Chromebooks. And Brian, I may have you kind of cue things up here in a bit because I know Brian has been testing some of these out, and I'd love to hear some of his feedback on these because I know he tries to get his hands on a lot of these new items and actually work with them. So I'm just going to let you know real quick some of the things that have been announced, and then we can pause and Brian can share and other people can share what they know about these. So first of all, Google put out an announcement about a whole bunch of new tablets and Chromebooks that are coming out, and you'll see that the key to it is affordability. So they mentioned how there's a bunch of new Chromebooks coming out. They mentioned the, and I don't know if it's pronounced the higher Chromebook and the Hisense Chromebook. I'm probably butchering the pronunciations of these, but they mentioned these new Chromebooks that are coming out and how the cost would be very, very low. And I hear it is $149, starting at $149. So we're starting to get some of the lowest priced Chromebooks I think we've ever seen, and so now we're getting down into the the mid 100s. So they announced these Chromebooks coming out. But then they also announced a new batch of tablets coming out. And these tablets aren't just any old tablets. These are ones that are approved for use with the Google Play for Education store. So now we've got the Asus Memo, it's a 7-inch, the Transformer Pad 10, Dell's Venue, and the HP Pro Slate. And again, value being an important part of this. The Asus Memo 7 is itself also at $149. So an incredibly low price for a 7-inch tablet. The Nexus 7 is still alive and kicking. They're not getting rid of that. They're keeping it at $199 for that price. The rest of these are 10-inch tablets, and they do mention they do meet PARCC requirements, although I know a lot of people do prefer to use Chromebooks or other devices, but you definitely can use these with a keyboard for easier typing. So that was announced, and then Google went a little further, and they also had another post where they talked about not just the Chromebooks, but some other variations of things. Chromebooks, Chromebook Flips, and something called the Chromebit. So we've got some normal Chromebooks coming out, but now we've got this thing called the Chromebook Flip. And the idea is you can fold it around so that the keyboard is flat on the, I'll make it bigger there we go, so that the keyboard is flat facing down, and then it turns into more of a tablet. And these are touch screen, so you can then tap on it and touch on it like it's a tablet. So it doesn't fold all the way around and lay flat, but it does make it easier if you need to, use it for touch purposes when you don't need the keyboard. So I thought that was interesting. And then the other thing they announced was the Chrome Bit, and it's this teeny little device. It looks like a flash key, and basically it is an entire Chrome device. It's a Chromebook in a flash key, basically. And so if you can plug this into any HDMI port on a monitor, a TV, and it will turn that into a functioning Chromebook, Chrome device. So, and it's going to cost, they said, under $100. So under $100, it's a thumb drive here. I think there's maybe a better picture on this other one. That one's a little small. Let me see if this one makes it bigger. Maybe, maybe not. No, not much. So there it is anyway, though. So that's a little bit bigger, I guess you can see. So that's from Asus, and that is the Chrome Bit. So very curious how that works. I don't really understand how this works because you still need a keyboard and a mouse, and it says it's Bluetooth, so I'm guessing you pair the keyboard and the mouse to it if they're Bluetooth, I'm guessing. I'm thinking. I'm not sure. I'm still really curious how this works, but for under $100, they say you're going to basically have a full Chrome computer by plugging this into an existing monitor. So a lot of crazy variations on Chromebooks coming out there. While we're there, before I pop over to Brian, I'm going to skip a few things and come back to him. I just want to get all the devices out of the way. CTL, who we mention a lot of times, we've always really enjoyed their Chromebooks. They've made the with a $179 Chromebook with the $20 management license cost. So they've dropped it from $30 to $20 for the management license. And so they have their newest educational rugged Chromebook now dropping all the way down to, like I said, $179 with a $20 cost for the management console. So that puts it at $199. Which is fantastic for a ruggedized CTL Chromebook. Thought that was really neat. And then at the same time, we have a link to their try and buy program, which they've announced. I don't know if they've had it for a while, but it was new to me anyway. And the buy and try, if it comes up here, come on, buy and try, you can do it. And so this, and I'll zoom in so you can see this better here. This basically allows you to purchase these for $149 and $169 to try them out. And there are some, conditions. It does need to be an education customer. And I think you basically fill out this form to request the coupon, and it lets you get your hands on these for an even lower cost than normal.
Hey, Eric.
Yes, go ahead.
Hey, I talked to a PTL rep earlier in the week, and the new Chromebooks are not as ruggedized as the NL6. So they don't have the sealed keyboard and things like that. So just something to keep in mind with that. It still has the drop protection, but not the sealed keyboard and such.
Excellent to know. So they are rugged, but not as ruggedized as the CTLs we've seen in the past.
Correct.
That's good to know. That is good to know. Thank you for clarifying that.
Sure.
All right. All right, well, let's keep on going. Oops, let's keep on going here. Let's see a few more devices. We've got Acer announced a Chrome base that I thought was kind of an interesting looking take on this. And so this is a touch screen Chrome base. So basically what you've got is a monitor and that has all of the computer inside of it. So you don't have a separate computer than this, and it's a touch screen, and it's 21.3 inches, 21.5 inches. And so for those who might be looking for something that's a little bit more permanent rather than a Chromebook that you fold up and move around, maybe have a lab setting, thought this was an interesting twist on that. So I guess the point of what I'm saying with all of those is, holy cow, there's a lot of different devices coming out. Brian, did you want to share anything about your experiences with any of these more recent devices?
Yeah. with those new announcements, I haven't been able to get my hands on any of those ones yet. But what's exciting about this is that it's really driving the price down of Chromebooks. So what I'm seeing now is in devices that I'm reviewing, for the same price point that we paid for like an Acer C720 last year, we're now seeing devices that are a lot more ruggedized for education at that same price point, where before that, those ruggedized devices in many cases were still like another $100, $150 more expensive, which is why the Acer C720 was a popular choice last school year. So I'm really curious to see how these new ones work. I'm always a little hesitant, when it's an ARM processor, because we've seen mixed things with that on Chromebooks. Sometimes they've been good, other times not so much. But what this one has going for it is the fact that that particular processor was designed for Chromebooks. So I do think we're going to see some better performance coming out of it than some other ARM solutions that we've seen. And the Chromebook Flip, I think that's just that's awesome. I mean, I like that we're going to finally have one in a tablet size. That's going to be the closest thing to a tablet yet with Chrome OS on it. The Chromebit, I don't think it's going to be a great alternative to like a Chrome box when it comes to students. But where I can see the Chromebit being very beneficial is in the areas where you might have a kiosk or a signage type system running, because you're exactly right. You're going to need a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse to pair with it, which will be an added cost. And when that's all said and done, Chromebox will probably still be a better alternative for students.
All right, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, absolutely. That is great. All right, let me go ahead and switch back over here. All right, good.
Eric?
Yeah.
I was thinking one of the things about those little plug-in Chrome devices is if projectors have an HDMI port, they might be a way to have a projector then turn into a Chromebook, and I could see that being a possibility, a viability, because you don't want to hang anything up on the ceiling. But if you could just slide one of those into the back of a projector, it'd be wonderful.
Oh, that's a good point. So plugging a Chrome bit into the HDMI port on a projector. So a little more power than a Chromecast then. Awesome. All right. Other than that, let's see. A couple other things we want to hit. Again, we're not going to go through everything here. I'll just mention a couple. If you did not get a chance to see all the April Fool's things, that is always great. Every year, April Fool's, Google rolls out lots of fake videos, fake products, fake things. I threw a couple of them in here. There's more than just these, but for example, they announced their actual cloud platform that uses physical clouds in the air to hold your data, and it has thunderstorm boost technology, and it's fantastic. It's wonderful. They've got self-browsing Chromebooks that they're talking about making Chromebooks easier all the time. So easy now they'll actually do your web surfing for you, so you can get on with your life doing other things. They'll do all of your browsing for you. And there was many other ones there. Fantastic stuff. Love Google for doing those things. So kudos to them for having a sense of humor and doing that. A couple other things probably to point out. We'll skip through a few. I still don't know anybody who's using Course Builder personally. I know a lot of people use it. I'm saying I don't know personal people that use it, but Course Builder is Google's like learning management system that they use for some of their courses that they deliver. Just quick update. They've added some neat new tools to it. So now you can do skill maps. They've got better analytics and some other neat tools. So they're continuing to develop Course Builder. I don't know exactly where it's going to go. I would love to play with it someday myself. I have never used it to build a course. I've taken their courses with it. I've been in courses that use it, but I myself have never made one with it yet. The next one is one that's a little bit more near and dear to my heart because it seems that I keep running into safety mode issues. I don't know why, but Google thinks my videos are not safe. I'm not sure exactly what's happening, but sometimes I will record my webinars. I'll do these Google user meetings, and when it's done, it gets posted to YouTube. And several of my videos have been flagged as not being safe. I don't know why that is. My understanding is it's an algorithm that runs that figures those things out. I'm not sure what's triggering it. But the problem is when that happens, people can't watch it if they have safety mode turned on in YouTube. And if you're not sure how safety mode works in YouTube, basically if I go to YouTube and if you scroll all the way to the bottom, way down at the bottom, you'll see safety. Whoop, gotta keep going, Eric. There we go. Oh my goodness, it's still loading. Okay, it's going to load forever. I'm going to have to go to a page then. Let me go to my channel. Maybe if I go to my channel. Will it stop if I go to my channel? Yep, there we go. So way at the bottom, it says safety, and it says safety is off. If I click that, though, I can switch it on or off. If it's turned on, basically anything that Google deems as not safe will not play. And so unfortunately, if a video gets flagged as not safe, people can't watch it. Well, normally you'd say, oh, well, just go turn that off. And so a user you could scroll to the bottom, click on safety, and you could turn that off. Unless your administrator has set that for your domain. So like if I'm logged into my school account, and in the Google Apps Admin Console, I go in and say, safety mode is turned on for everybody, then you can't turn it off. Now, you could, of course, log in as a different user on a different computer at home somewhere else. But the point is, if you're sitting at your school computer, logged into your account, and you just want to be able to watch something and you can't, that's frustrating. So one of the things that's kind of nice is they have now set it up so that safety mode is a little more granular in your admin console. It used to be that safety mode and safe search were tied together. You could not turn off or on either one without doing the same for the other. And so because of that, people would say, you know what, I'm sorry, I just can't turn off safety mode because as soon as I do, it also turns off safe search. And we need to have safe search on for our kids. Well, now if I go to my admin console, let me bring that back up, and I'll see if I can show this to you real quick. If I go into my devices, so from here if I go down to device management, and from device management if I go to Chrome management, and from Chrome management if I go to user settings, way down there's a section on safety. I'll just run a search for safety. That'll make it faster. So there's safe browsing. Here we go, safe search. So safe search, now, it used to be it was either on or off. Basically, safe search and Google safety mode were tied together. Now you can choose 4 options. Just turn on safety mode for YouTube. Just turn on safe search for Google web searches. Turn on both of them, or don't turn on either one of them. So somebody could say, you know what, we do need safe search, but we don't need safety mode for YouTube. I'm not saying that they wouldn't. You definitely still might want to have both turned on. I'm just saying the option is finally there to separate those two from each other. So that gives just a little bit more flexibility for administrators. Speaking of safety mode, though, same thing happened to me just the other day. I did a webinar on advanced tools for online assessments. It got marked as unsafe, and somebody emailed me and said they couldn't view it, and there's nothing you can do. There's no appeal process. There was no way to change it. So at first I thought, well, I'm just going to give up on this, but I came up with 2 possible answers, and we can talk about those actually now. They do tie into, there was a question posted about this here, where a teacher was saying they are using YouTube to record classroom tests, and then they're linking those tests in through Google Classroom so students can watch and re-watch the tests at their own pace. However, they're not able to see them because they don't want to turn off the safety feature, and apparently that's getting caught. That's creating a problem. Anybody know how, to get around this? Well, if this is the same problem I was having, basically there were 2 answers. One was you have to find a different place to put the video other than YouTube, or 2 is wait and see if it clears off. And that was weird because that's what happened to me. The video I did for the webinar the other day was marked unsafe, and then a day later it was no longer marked as such. And I don't know why. I don't know what happens that causes it. All I can imagine is that something in the early processing of it got it flagged, and it wasn't quite done processing yet, and then eventually it cleared. And so now it's no longer marked as unsafe. So I don't really understand how that happened, but I was happy. The other option, though, is, and I was trying this out because I was worried this might be my only option, is to put the video on your Google Drive instead. Because now with Google Apps for Education, there's unlimited storage in Drive. So you can put videos in Drive. So how would you do that? Well, basically what you would do is you would go to YouTube, go to your channel, and then go to Video Manager. So once you go to YouTube, you go to My Channel, and you go to Video Manager. Inside of Video Manager, it shows you all of your different videos. Underneath any of the videos, there's a little down arrow. And if you click on that, one of the options is to download the video file, the MP4. And so that's what I did. I went and I downloaded the movie for the video file for my webinar. After I downloaded it as an MP4, I then just turned right around and uploaded it to my Google Drive. And so I dropped that whole video in my Google Drive, and I can probably show you, I don't know if I can find it fast enough to pull up on here, but I dropped it into my Drive, and I think I put it, I think I can show it to you because I know where I put it. I put it in the webinar folder. So if I go to the webinars and I go to the folder for that session, it is sitting right in that folder right there. And so there it is. It's 389 megabytes. But it doesn't matter. It's Google Apps for Education. It's not going to count toward anything. I then right-clicked on it, and I went to sharing, and I was able to set my permissions to anybody with the link can view it. And so now I could take that link instead, and I could give that link to somebody, and that would bypass the whole YouTube thing. They would then be able to view it. So if you really, really, really are getting stuck with things in safety mode, you could start putting your videos in Drive instead and start using that link to give to students or other people to view. And it will play right out of Drive. So that is an option that may help some folks.
You can only do that with your own videos. Right?
You cannot legally download other people's YouTube videos. So if you go to a YouTube, there is no download button. There are add-ons, extensions, apps that will download them for you, but there's nothing that is sanctioned by YouTube that will do that. But so technically, yes, you can download other people's videos from a technical point of view, but not from a YouTube-approved point of view, and possibly not from a copyright point of view. Now, some people will mark their videos as Creative Commons, and then technically, you know, as long as you know, if you can find a way to download it, you're within your legal rights then, because they've marked it as such. In YouTube, they've said this is licensed Creative Commons. You may use this however you wish. So in that case, they've given you that freedom to do so. You just have to find a tool to do it. YouTube does not provide such a tool.
That's what I was asking before you did it. I'm like,
Has to be your own video in your video manager. Next to the edit button, there's a download option. So, yeah. So
another thing that I'll throw into that too, which you know, every district's different, but what's also nice about actually putting your videos in Google Drive, I mean, putting them in YouTube's great, but the other benefit of having them in Google Drive is that if you are in a one-to-one environment where students take devices home, if that student doesn't have internet access, having it in Google Drive allows them to be able to download that video before going home, so they can still watch it before coming back to school the next day. So that's another good reason to actually have your videos in Drive.
That's a great point, Brian. I hadn't even thought of that. Yeah, so that would then let people, obviously, you know, download them because it is just a file inside of Drive, and if they have access to it, they could download that file. And now that we've got unlimited storage, have at it. That's fantastic. You can put videos there, and it won't hurt a thing at all. So, good to know. I hope that answers that question. I don't know if I missed something on that, but that kind of tied into my experience, and it tied into this news item. Let's just wrap up the what's new here real quick. Let me see. Hangouts chat can now be forced and saved in Vault. So at first when Vault came out, Vault is the tool that allows us to archive our emails. It did not have a way to save Hangouts chat, and so there was a disclaimer you had to agree to if you turned on Vault to say, I understand it's not able to save Hangouts chat. That has been fixed. So now chats that are if they are being, well, here I'll show you. If they are set up in such a way that they are to be non-private, let me see if I can pull this up here for you to show you, they will now be saved into Vault as well. And I can pull this up in the admin console too if that's helpful to show you where this is at. I was going to see if they mentioned it more in their article or not. Okay, I'll just show you real quick in the admin console where that's at. So now if I'm in the admin console and if I go to my apps and then if I go to Hangout, go to Google Apps, and if I go to my Hangouts, you'll see that now I have a settings section here that allows me to decide, first of all, what chat option people have. And the two options are either they just get Hangouts or they just get the old Google Talk, or they get both options and they can choose which one. For example, in this one I chose Hangouts chat only for our domain because that's the newer, more modern chat feature and I want people to be using that. So now you can force Hangouts chat, but the point about Vault is right below. You can turn history on or off. If you turn history on, then you basically are saying any chat inside of Hangouts is going to be recorded into Vault. So you have that option. You can also choose don't allow users to change the setting if you want to go that far. You can even lock it down even further. If history is off, then no, it doesn't go into Vault. But if it is on, chats will be recorded. All right. As always, there's things for Android, updates to Docs. Constantly, Google Docs for Android and iOS is getting closer and closer and closer to the real thing. I was just doing a training 2 days ago, and somebody asked, they said, hey, Eric, I want to be able to add comments and reply to comments on mobile, and we can't do that. This was literally April 15th. Somebody asked me that. Dated April 16th, Google says, Docs, now you can accept, reject, or comment on suggestions. So now, guess what? You can do it 1 day later. I should have written them back and said, okay, I asked them. They went ahead and did it for you. So 1 day somebody asked it. The very next day, Google announces you can now do comments on mobile. So at least on Android and iOS, excellent. So both of those, you now can do that. So I guess the point is this is a monthly thing. We could say this every month. Mobile Docs, Drive, Sheets, Slides just gets better and better and better. They keep adding more features to close that gap between mobile and desktop. However, sometimes we get things that are just specific for mobile, and this one I thought was kind of cool. There's a Google handwriting app that has been rolled out for Android, and what it does is it allows you to change your keyboard from the normal keyboard to one where you can write on the screen instead. Now that's probably really good for a tablet, but it works on phones as well. Let me see if I can show this to you guys. So I'm going to stop screen sharing here, and I'm going to try to use my camera, and I never can do this well because it's I mean I can't think that way. My brain is probably not going to show this properly, but I'm going to try to show you really quick what this looks like. And I'm also going to see, I may have to switch my video here locally to hold on a second, so that it's not mirrored, because it's mirrored at the moment, and I think I'm going to get confused if there we go. This hopefully is going to be correct now. Let me see, is that correct? Yes, the words are correct. Okay, very good. So I just wanted to make sure that I had that up there properly. Okay, so basically, here's the idea. If I go in to, let me just open up a doc here real quick, and I'll show you. let's see, a test doc or something. Okay, so I'm inside of this test doc here. So it's just like just testing, nothing too fancy there, just a little test doc that I'm in. If I go to edit my test doc, normally I get, you know, the normal keyboard down there at the bottom, okay, which is perfectly fine. Type in blah, 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 blah. Well, what I did was I downloaded this app, the Google Handwriting app, and then you can change your keyboard between the two. I also downloaded a second app that lets me do that quickly because I got tired of going into my settings. I grabbed one called Quick Keyboard Switch, and basically when I click that, it lets me choose which one I want. So do I want my LG keyboard or do I want my Google Handwriting input? And that just sits up in my notification. So I can just pull that down and change it on the fly. Otherwise, I'm digging through settings every time to find it. So if I switch this now and I choose Google Handwriting, now my keyboard goes away and it says right here. And there is no way on earth I can possibly do this. So this is going to not work because I don't think I can. I will try. I will try. So I'll just type in something like test. Oh. And there it goes. Okay, yay, it worked. So as you type, it scrolls across to the side. So the more, or excuse me, as you write. So as you write here, it just keeps scrolling to the side, and then it throws that information up there at the top. So I don't know. I thought that was kind of cool that there is now a handwriting keyboard for your device. If that works for you, if it works for the kids, or it makes more sense for anybody, I think that's really nice to have that ability. All right, and I think that gets us pretty darn close to the end of our what's new. So let me see, was there anything else at the tail end there? I thought this was kind of cool. Chrome has extended its support for Windows XP until the end of this year. Windows XP is probably still on some computers out in schools. Yes, I'm seeing some nods. It will probably never die. I think we'll always have XP out there somewhere. Microsoft stopped supporting XP officially a while back. They stopped releasing a browser for it back on Internet Explorer 8. And so if you're using XP and you want to use IE, you're stuck at IE 8, which is like, what, 7 years old now or something. It is completely crippled. So you have to use Firefox or something else. Well, Chrome has been one of the great things for XP because you could still use the latest version of Chrome, and they were going to end support around this time, around April, and they decided, nope, they're going to let it run all the way through the end of the year. So at least till the end of 2015, you can have the latest and greatest version of Chrome on your very, very, very old XP machines, giving you still a little bit more time to replace the machines or switch over to Chromebooks or do something else.
Now, Eric, will that work on my Windows 95 machines?
Will it work on your Windows 95? No, I think you have to stick with Netscape Navigator Gold.
Fortunately, I have the box version of it.
I think that or you might want to switch back over to Lynx for those that know that one. And then the last thing, and Brian, again, I know I keep throwing this to you over and over again, but you might be one to speak to this. Google announced over a year ago that they were shutting down several of their APIs that are used for programs to communicate with Google Apps, and they were replacing them with newer, better APIs, and people had a year to update all of their stuff. Well, we're getting to that date, April 20th. That's why this date is in the future. Today's the 17th. This is actually in the future. Google is going to officially be shutting down these APIs they've been talking about for a long time. And in doing so, any program that is still using that old API is going to stop working. Now, should that affect people? Well, in a perfect world, no. That really shouldn't be a big deal. But here's what might happen. You might have installed an add-on or an extension or an app that the developer never updated. And so you've got this add-on installed, you've got this web app installed, you've got this web extension installed, and it uses the old APIs. And guess what? That add-on, extension, or app, it's going to stop working as of the 20th, okay? And there's nothing you can do about that in the sense that it's the developer didn't update it. Now, you could try to uninstall and reinstall the app to make sure you've got the latest version. They're supposed to update by themselves because every time I open up Chrome, it'll yell at me about some new update to one of my add-ons or extensions, but you could always uninstall it and try to reinstall it and see if that fixes it. But for the most part, if the developer hasn't kept it up to date, it's just going to stop working. Where this is more important for us as admins of Google Apps is if we're using a tool like GAPS or GADS. Now, GAPS is the Google Apps Password Manager, and GAPS is what we use to sync our password, password sync. GAPS is Google Apps Password Sync. It syncs the passwords between Active Directory and Google Apps, and then GADS is the Google Apps Directory Sync that syncs the users. If you've set this up recently, you're fine. But if you set it up a long time ago and you've never, ever, 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 ever updated the actual program that is sitting on your server running GAPS or GADS, you do want to just go ahead, download the most recent version, replace what you've got on your server with that. It'll read the same config file. It'll work perfectly fine. You don't have to like redo your whole configuration. It will just in the background update that old program. Otherwise, come the 20th, your sync may stop working. I mean, that is a possibility. So this is something that we will need to check with people, especially in SPARCC land here. Anybody that has any concerns about that, I am more than happy to jump on your server and take a look and make sure that you are up to date with the most recent version of GAPS or GADS. Brian, have I butchered that? Anything you want to mention to bring some clarification to this this issue?
No, I think you covered it pretty well.
All right, good stuff. All right, well, yes, question.
We weren't really sure at the Career Center if we had to worry about this API thing because we didn't know what it meant. But we did a live chat with someone from Google about it, and they were able to check our domain and see if we even needed to update anything or worry about it. So that was just really handy. So if anybody else had questions, just the email that they sent out, just go to the links and there's a place where you can do a live chat with somebody.
How nice. So Google willing to jump on and live chat with you and assist you. So the emails that you get as an administrator that talk about this date have links in there, including the ability to chat with some Googlers. That is, I'm so glad to hear that they helped you with that. All right, well, that's it for what's new, and we didn't really hit everything, but there's always too much new stuff, but hopefully that gives you a good feel for all the new things that have come out recently. What we're going to move to now is we've got a Q&A section and we've got a show and tell section. I definitely want to make sure we get into our show and tell because we've set up to do that. So we're going to take this out of order a little bit. I think we're going to do show and tell first, and then that will give me time to go back and look at the Q&A because there may be some things in there we haven't had a chance to look at yet. And then and anybody else who wants to look at those and have answers, that's awesome. We appreciate that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute myself here, and I'm going to turn this over to Jess Boylan. Jess is the tech integrationist at Brown Local Schools, and I think, are you about? I don't want to throw you on the spot. Okay, I don't want to throw you on the spot. Okay. And so I'm gonna mute my mic. She's in the same room as me. That's why we're getting a little feedback here. I'm gonna mute my mic, and I'm gonna turn this over to Jess. What Jess would like to do each month is do a little highlight of apps or extensions that she thinks are neat. And so I was so excited that she was willing to do that. I'm like, yes, please, that's fantastic. And so she'll have her apps and extensions each episode here, or each meeting here. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to find Jess, and she's got me on her screen, so even better. I can see myself again. All right. It's all you.
Okay. Is my stuff showing up correctly? Can you tell?
It looks.
Okay, perfect. All right, the first extension I'm going to demo is SPARCC, and it is a text-to-speech extension. It's very, very simple. Students of all ages can do it. If they just need one word pronounced, they can use it. If you have a special ed student who needs something read on a web page, they can use it. Or if you are working on something else and you want it to read to you, you can use it like that as well. How it works you highlight any text on a web page. So I'm going to highlight the text, and you come up to your Speak It icon and click it.
A tornado is a violently rotating column of air that is in contact with both the...
It starts reading. If you need to pause it, you can pause it, and you can see a little number icon pops up, and that is showing you how many sentences it has left to read out of what you highlighted. So that is how Speak It works. You do have a few options in Speak It. You can change the speaking rate. So maybe for younger students, I noticed it may need may need to slow it down. I was messing around with it, and the default is pretty accurate, but again, for younger students, I would choose to slow it down. You can change the voice, so I'm sure that kids will love to do this. You can change it to a different language, different male, female, whatever you choose. So that is Speak It. So I'm good with that. And then the next one I'm going to show is called Scribble. And this is an app and extension combo. The web app is pretty much just a link to your library, and then the extension that goes along with it is the toolbar that you use to annotate on a web page. You can save your annotations to view later, and you can also send them off to others for collaboration. This has a lot of bells and whistles. I've been playing with it a lot, so I'm not going to show everything because we would be here all day. And I'm going to do it backwards. I'm going to show you what it looks like on a web page first, and then I'll show you what it looks like in your library. So if you're on a web page and you are doing research and you want to start annotating, you're going to launch the toolbar, and it is going to come down at the bottom of your page, and you have a lot of different options. The first thing I would recommend if I were using this with students is to bookmark the page once you find one that you think is valuable, and this will give you options to give it whatever name you want to do. If you need any comments, you can add a tag if you want, so that when you're in your library you can find it. So I'll just add the bookmark. It's going to work. It's going to tell me it's successful, and then I can start annotating. I have a highlighter, and I have lots of different colors. For someone like me who sits with probably 15 highlighters with their paper, because I like to color code everything, this sort of speaks my tune. So if I want to highlight something, I come down and click it, it highlights. If I want to come up and change the color, I have that option. I can add post-its. So if I want to add a note to something, I can highlight what I want to add a note to, and it color coordinates the note with the text on the web page itself. So that's nice, and I can just add a note here, and it'll stay. The next two, they work with the formatting of the text, and I see this as more useful if I'm using a Google Doc between myself and someone, maybe not necessarily on a web page, but possibly. So this one just changes the color of the text. This one will change the different formatting. So I would see it if you were working on a group paper or something and you wanted to make comments, or if you wanted to get rid of something, I would see maybe using that more so there. The next two, just undo your annotation or redo your annotation. This next button is probably my favorite button on the whole toolbar, just because I think it's cool. It's an eyeball, and when the eyeball is open, your annotations are showing, and if you click it, it closes the eyeball and hides everything that you've done. So I thought that was pretty cool. The next one is this just minimizes your notes. So if you get a lot of notes, you can choose to hide them. You also have the option to add a legend. This would be nice if you were working with a group, so that you can say like what the yellow highlighting means, what the notes mean, and so forth. It also will create citations. You can use whatever format you need to do. It gives you the option to create the citation right here, and then you can copy and paste it. It also gives you the option to export to EasyBib. So I thought that was nice. And I think this next part is what really gives some value to this. You can choose to post your annotations to Twitter. You can share them on Facebook. It'll create a link that you can copy and paste, or you could email your annotations right from here. So if you want to email it, you just enter in the email. You can make it read only so that they cannot change anything that you've done. You can also add a copy to yourself. And then the last thing you want to make sure after you do all of your annotations, you want to save it. So when you go to save as, you can save to your library, and I'm going to pop over there in a second and show you that. So we'll just save that. So once you're done working, now this is your library, and this is where the web app brings you. So this is my library. You can search by a search term. You can apply filters. So if I just want to see the bookmarks I've saved, or if I just want to see the web pages I've saved, I want to see it all. You can also apply filter tags. So I just put a few on, and when you click, then it'll just pull whatever your tags were. So as your library grows, this would be useful in keeping it organized. Let's say you have a ton of bookmarks that you would like to import. It does give you that option, so you can pull those in, which I thought was pretty neat. And let me see what else was up here. Oh, if you have a document, you can come up and you can share from here. You don't have to share from the document itself. You do have the ability to do it from the library. So you can share from here, email, Twitter, Facebook. You can add your tags. You can set the access so that you can kind of lock it down so others cannot change it. So I would recommend doing that here. And you also can export. It gives you a lot of different options. You can create reports from this. This is the one I think would be useful. You can just export your summary, so it will give you everything that you annotated in a summary that you could print if you needed to. And then yesterday we were playing around with it. You can create multiple libraries, so you're not just stuck with one library. You have your personal archive, which you cannot share out with any other user. You can create an additional library, and then you can share that out with others. So this was one I just created to test, and when you, nope, that's not the one I wanted. This is the one I wanted. When you share it, you're going to share it via their email address. Once it is shared, then you have permissions to set. So this is my high school language arts teacher. She plans on using it with her students. She's going to put them up in groups, and then each group is going to be in charge of researching something else. So she liked this because she could set per user what their permissions were for that group. So she thought that was pretty neat moving forward with this. So that is Scribble. If you're interested, check it out. It is very user-friendly. I haven't had any issues with it. The only drawback is you cannot annotate on a PDF. But we did find another extension that'll be next month that I'll show. So always thinking. But this is in beta, and they say that on the Q&A that it is in the works, and whether or not, you know, how soon that is, I'm not sure. In storage space, you can get more if you share it and your users sign up and use it. You both get, I think, 25 megabytes extra. So, and I think it limits you to like 10 of those. So that's more than enough. So that's my contribution.
All right. Well, thank you, and we'll have to now do our quick adjustment here on everything. We'll figure this out eventually. We're all in the same room, and so I think that's what sometimes makes it a little bit of a challenge for us when we do that. But well, Jess, thank you very much for that. Let me share my screen here again. So you've got links in here as well. So if you like what you heard there, come in here, click on these links. These will take you right out to the Chrome Web Store for SPARCC and for Scribble as well. And I really do like that idea with Scribble, being able to annotate web pages, because, you know, to have something that allows you to, you know, do that, and anytime you revisit that web page, have those notes. Wow. I mean, I remember years ago when I was trying to pull together resources for the Ohio treasure chest that I used to do. I was always trying to find ways to remind myself if I had visited a site, if I had processed it. So if I was, you know, doing a similar thing and trying to pull information together for a project, it'd be great to be able to leave notes on the page so that later if I visited it, I would know that I've already been there and I've done that, you know. Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. I did see a question came in, though, during that time. Somebody said, when using SPARCC, does it matter what device you use? And I'm not sure with that question exactly how broad they mean. I mean, I can tell you this: it has to be something that is like a PC, a Mac, or a Chromebook. I'm not aware of SPARCC working. Specifically SPARCC, I'm not aware of it working on tablets. But there's other options. So like if you've got a tablet, there's going to be a different tool that you could use for text-to-speech. But when it comes to SPARCC, that is a Chrome web extension, so it has to be in the Chrome browser on what we would call a desktop type of a computer. It can be a laptop, a desktop, but just not a mobile device. So not iOS, not Android. So Chrome OS, Mac, PC with the Chrome browser running. Again, mobile has its own options. I'm sure there's many ways to get things to do text-to-speech off of a mobile device, but SPARCC is a really nice one for a desktop, a laptop, a Chromebook, something like that. Once you install it, it follows you because it's being installed to your account. So anytime you log into a computer with your account, you can have your Chrome web apps and extensions follow you if you're syncing those. So that's nice. What was, and I'm sorry if you mentioned this or not, because I know we talked earlier, and so I can't keep it straight. Did you talk about how SPARCC functions with a Google Doc? What's a little unusual about that?
I didn't say that, but
yeah, so earlier today you had mentioned to me that you found that SPARCC works great on web pages, but when you're in a Google Doc, it will read it, but it insists on reading from the beginning. You know, so where if you're on a web page, you can highlight and have it just read a paragraph. In a doc, even if you highlight, it just ignores that. It always reads from the start of the doc. And my only response was that's why I end up using Read and Write for Google for things inside of Google Docs, because I can highlight. Otherwise, you're right. I use SPARCC all the time on web pages, then I use Read and Write when I'm inside of a doc. Very good. All right. Let me see. Let's now talk about our next show and tell item, which is Google's Education on Air. And so I'm going to I'll kind of set this up, and then Nikki, I'd love to hear from you because I know you're going to be one of the presenters. I'd like to hear what it is you are presenting on for the Education on Air conference. A little bit of background, though, on this first. So basically, this is not new. Actually, boy, the first time this was done, it's been years ago now. I remember I was working at North Canton back then, and this has been maybe 4 years back. I'm not sure how long ago that was, but they did do an Education on Air session one day, and basically it was just a whole bunch of Google Hangouts on Air, and people could watch them live, they could watch them recorded afterwards, and Google organized this one day of online PD. Well, they've brought it back, and I'm excited that they have. They've got an article here that gives you some more details about the background behind this, talks about some of the keynote speakers that are going to be there, gives you some details about the second day. So day 1, May 8th, is more of like keynote speakers. Saturday, May 9th, is over 100 sessions from educators from 12 countries and 29 states sharing on, loads and loads and loads of different topics there. So if I go to the actual website, oh, and Brian, you're doing one too. I looked for your name. I couldn't find you in there. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Oops,
my name's not actually
there. I'm not. Oh, no, you're not muted. I'm down. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. No, I'm actually just one of the panelists on that particular session with the Google Play for Education tablets.
Excellent. I apologize. I did not catch that. I would have mentioned that earlier. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, no, you're fine.
All right. So if I go to the website itself, what you'll see is on the website, you can register. You don't really have to register, but that just gives you information about it. But if I go to View Agenda, it'll bring me to the page where you can see first the day 1 with all of the keynote speakers, and then if you go to day 2, that's where you get more into the wide collection of sessions, each typically about 45 minutes long. That's what they're trying to have us keep them to. And they've got them categorized by educator, administrator, IT, and anyone. I am doing one on the educator category. Let me find it here. Now I gotta find which one I'm doing here. I'm doing one on improving writing with Google Docs, And there it is. Okay, so I'm doing one at 1 in the afternoon on improving writing with Google Docs. I'll be talking about add-ons and extensions and things built into Docs that allow you to improve the whole writing process, from revising and commenting to publishing student work, the whole shebang. So all about helping students to become better writers from the very beginning to the very end of the process and everything all through it. Brian, go ahead and tell me again real quick, which one are you, what are you plugged into? One of the panels?
Yeah, one of the panel sessions, 2 o'clock.
Is that on that same day?
Yep.
Okay. And you've got a link to it, and you put the link in. I'm sorry, I'll just click your link. That'll be way faster if I just do that. So there we go. Whoops. Okay, so this is the one on meeting the needs of young learners with tablets with Google Play for Education. I know, Brian, tell us a little bit about what that one's going to be about.
There's going to be a few panelists on that's going to talk about Google's tablet solution with Google Play for Education, and really we're going to highlight our deployments in our districts and kind of be there for any Q&A that people have with it.
Excellent, that's great. And then let me see, Nikki, let me pull yours up here. Give it a second to come up here. Okay, here's yours, and yours is on building your PLN. Why don't you tell us about that?
Sure. More and more educators are becoming connected as a way of expanding their own professional development. I can't talk today, sorry. We're going to be looking at using Google+, Google Hangouts, Twitter chats, things like that to increase your personal learning network. Draw resources from people around the world, talk with people around the world, and just use it to better your own personal education process. Professional development in the schools doesn't always hit what we need as teachers. So this gives us an opportunity to take control of our own professional development and make it personal for us.
Fantastic. That is great. So we definitely want to encourage everybody to, catch as many of these as you can live. That's fine. But at the same time, they're going to be recorded. So look at this as a collection of over 100 webinars just sitting out there waiting for you and your staff to use. I think it's fantastic that Google's putting this together. And it seems to be a theme, as we've seen here today. I mean, earlier Nikki mentioned about how there's going to be the EdCamp Global, the 24-hour virtual Ed Camp, and then earlier Anthony had posted about GCon with its 3 days of online sessions, and of course we do our webinars. Once a week there's a webinar between Anthony and I, one of us doing those, and that's the same thing. That's all online, and this meeting right now is online as well. I guess I just wanted to throw this out real quick as just maybe a philosophical question, and I know we don't have a ton of time to get real deep into it, but I was curious, have you guys found pros, cons, challenges to trying to deliver professional development in this manner? I mean, I think it's a good thing. We seem to be doing a lot of it, but I was just curious what your, what your experience has been with the success of non-face-to-face professional development. And even folks here in the room, have you tried this in your district? How's it? Jess, you're nodding your head. Any feedback on pros, cons, anything about how this works?
I think the pros are, we're locked into before school or after school with providing professional development, because during the year you just don't have the days to do it. And after school is not optimal because everyone's tired and have 100 things going on. This, I think, if you let them do it at their own leisure, I think is very valuable, because then they can do it with their feet up at home watching TV, and then it gives them time to process it and mark down questions, because I feel like a lot of times if you're presenting to a group, they're doing other things, trying to do other things at the same time. So I like it, and I also like to participate that way. I think I learn better that way, and I like being able to go back and refer to it later, instead of, they walk out the door and you're done, and you still have questions, you can't go back and see anything again.
Well, that is great. And if for any reason anybody couldn't pick up Jess, I apologize. We're in a little bit of a larger room. The key point she mentioned there was the flexibility of time, being able to watch these at your leisure whenever it fits you, because we have limitations in a school setting. There's only so many hours we can say you must be at this meeting and you must get this training. So it gives you flexibility with that. And I liked how you also said it gives you the ability to go back through it, to review it again if you've got questions, to go back and catch something you missed. So those are some really good positives. Other comments, though, yes?
Yeah, I think I find, so far at least, a mix of face-to-face and then resources online are probably, at least for us so far, work the best. Like, so maybe you have 10 minutes before school. You know, you can get them together and say, kind of introduce, this is what's going on, look for this, look for that, these are the highlights, but now these resources are posted here. And so then they have time to delve into those. What I like to do is schedule a follow-up after that and say, now that you've gone through those, you know, bring your questions, bring your, you know, your concerns.
Excellent point. Again, if anybody didn't catch some of that, it's just the idea of the hybrid approach. Some face-to-face with online, trying to, it's like flipping your classroom. It's trying to make the most advantage of the time, saying, okay, we're going to do 10 minutes face-to-face to set the expectations of what this is going to be and how it's going to work, and here's what it does. Now here's the resources. Go try them out. Go use them, and then follow up, like you said, to have another face-to-face that comes after that to say, okay, guys, so how did it go? What did you learn? What came from it? That's working really well for you guys. I like that. Yeah.
To piggyback off, once we do deploy something that they watch it on their own, we do, Anthony did this after we did the Google Apps rollout completely. We'll block off maybe a day where I'll just be available all day long in sort of an open lab session. They can come in with their questions. If they need additional hands-on training, then we can provide that. It's just me being there. Their schedule's not changing, but it gives you a chance to provide that during the school day.
Yeah, that's
that has worked
great.
Every time.
So again, the idea of, in case anybody didn't catch that, being available in a room all day long after the training has been done, so teachers can pop in and out as needed. And so it's just basically comes down to somebody, you know, a tech integrationist or a trainer or somebody willing to park themselves in a room for a day, and, you know, as people come in, provide that extra hands-on personal attention for those folks. So it sounds like there's a lot of benefits to this newer type of online learning that we're seeing a lot of with our webinars and Education on Air and all these different things. But you guys are finding the biggest bang for the buck comes from coupling it with some face-to-face as well. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. I mean, we still do, Anthony and I still do a lot, and always will, a lot of face-to-face trainings where, you know, because maybe I'll switch to the negative side of this. I don't mean to be negative against it, because I do webinars all the time, but there are challenges. You know, it's harder to interact with people in that environment. We try our best. We always have a Google Doc that is shared for every webinar we do. So when you go to one of our webinars, anytime you're on a webinar page, and I'll just pull this up here real quick, if I were to go to, you know, one of the recent webinars that we did here on advanced online assessments with forms, you'll see that there is linked in a live chat doc, we call it. And so if I go to that chat document, basically we say, if you've got any questions at all during the webinar, type them in. And sometimes we get a few, sometimes we get a bunch. And so Anthony and I help each other. If I'm presenting the webinar, he mans the chat doc, and vice versa. So we try to make it a little bit more personal, but you know, you kind of lose a bit of that ability to really adjust things based upon the need of your audience. It's also a challenge for the presenter. I will be honest about that. It has taken me a little getting used to, because when I'm doing this webinar, it's me and a microphone, you know, and Anthony may be in the room, you know, and that's fine, but the audience, I mean, I'm not seeing their faces. I don't know if they're smiling, if they're frowning, if they're confused, if they're happy. I get a little bit of feedback from Anthony through that doc, but really it's weird. It's very strange doing a training with nobody else really there, although they're online. I can see there's people watching it, and I know in the future people are going to watch it. But it does take a little bit of adjustment to deliver good online instruction as well. So I don't know, Nikki, Brian, Anthony, anybody else before we jump off of this, just anything you wanted to talk about as far as just the whole idea of delivering professional development in these new ways?
Yeah, Eric, the one thing you mentioned already is the difficulty in just being in a room by yourself. So I'm going to think about some of my future webinars, maybe inviting a few of the folks that are here today even to maybe join me so that electronically, so I do have a little bit of feedback, and I sort of work better on that model. So it's been difficult for me to adapt to, so I'm still learning that, and it is an interesting thing.
Well, you're exactly right there, and I should mention Google's Education on Air ones. They are actually encouraging people to have somebody else in there with them. They would prefer people not just to be by themselves, if possible, to have a few other folks in there. Nikki, go ahead and share.
I was going to say, I just think that it's so helpful to those teachers that may either be like on a maternity leave or something like that, not to miss out on trainings that are offered. Also, you know, one thing that we're doing is we're starting to flip some of our staff meetings, because a lot of times there's meetings after school or somebody's got to go run out for personal reasons. This way everybody gets a chance to hear the same information, and you know everybody's hearing the same thing. So it's just another great opportunity for people to watch the meetings and such on their own time when they're ready to hear it. Because a lot of times at the end of the day, teachers are just worn out, and they're there, but you know, they're checking their email or doing other things. So it's just a good way to make sure this information is getting across.
And Nikki, this is Anthony. I think Eric and I are looking forward to everyone binge watching our series over the summer. You know, when they get tired of Game of Thrones or whatever the other binge watching thing is, you know, they can watch our Breaking Bad series.
There you go.
Yeah, we've joked about that. We're up to what, 13 webinars by this summer. It'll be close to like 16 by the time we hit the summer. So yeah, there you go. You can binge watch our webinars, as well as everything from Education on Air. All right. Well, that is fantastic. We're just about out of time, and I want to make sure that Anthony gets a chance to chat briefly about some of his resources. I do see here in the show and tell about updating a PDF link. Anybody want to speak to that as to what that was about? Okay. So I'm not sure about updating a PDF link. I'm not sure what that pertains to. So maybe we can revisit that one. I see that in there. Anthony, why don't you go ahead and share the information that you wanted to mention. I will put you up on the screen if you want to run through some of the resources that you wanted to mention, and then I'm going to look real quick again while you're doing that at the questions. You've been doing a fantastic job answering these. I'm pretty sure that's probably you typing all that in there. So Anthony's been doing a good job of answering, but we'll circle back around to the questions right after Anthony finishes. So I'm going to turn this over to you, Anthony. Go ahead.
Okay, well, first of all, if you share my screen, you will see that there still are sightings of the cloud available in Akron. We saw one just recently, so it wasn't just an April Fool's joke. We're sure it really does exist. The second thing I wanted to talk about was Kid Search. This is a new website, well, not a new website, but a website that's new to me that I just found recently, and we're waiting for it to load here. One of the things on this site is the fact that it is make sure you're seeing. It is a site that is a kid-safe type of searching site, but it's also powered by Google. So a lot of the results that they get have the same sort of feel to them. So one of the things is it can get students used to searching in a what I call real-life environment, because there are some closed systems that are available for kids search, but they're limited. So I've just been playing around with this for a couple days. It's nice because it doesn't require you to enforce any safe search or anything. It's just set up that way. And there's a whole couple pages on their philosophy and how they have things set up. Eric and I were chatting about that, and I'll leave that for you to take a look at over the next couple days. Now that actually came about because of the second item. So I'm going to flip over here to the second item real quick. tiny.cc/iSafe. I did a talk to a group of 4th and 5th graders this week, and hopefully that'll come up here. I put together a Google Doc, and on this Google Doc there's really two things. At the top of the document are a number of different websites for internet safety. Some of them are interactive games, some are parent guides, some are teacher guides. The common sense ones are great. They have a lot of content, and they actually have a curriculum designed around their material. So that's the top section. The bottom section consists of sites that are sort of kid-safe web searching sites, and you'll notice kid search is there. I also point out that there's two sites that I really liked a lot before, Cyber Sleuth Kids and Fact Monster, and I have a nice big orange warning next to them now because both of those sites now have numerous advertisements which are not always kid appropriate. So if you're running something like ad blocker, they go away, but if you're not, unfortunately those sites are not as useful as they used to be. And then at the very bottom I have a section of searching sites for educational resources, and this is all part of my giant greater than 101 search sites, I think, which is around 240 currently. So just a little bit more on searching, but take a look at Kids Search. I think it looks pretty good. It seems like a very promising tool out there. And if you find any sites ever, I now do have a form on my searching page where you can simply submit a new site to that page, and I will take a look at it and see whether there's something we want to add. And again, that's available through ti.apps, just as all of our information is through technology links and information resources. Hopefully you're seeing this on the screen. And then just go to the search section and wait. And I had all these open before the computer went out earlier. Okay, about halfway down the page starts a gigantic list of searching sites. Just taking a few seconds to load. But you'll notice I now have a form available, a Google form where you can submit feedback. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about today. There we go. Now it just popped up, and you should be able to see that there are quite a few different search sites, and I've been classifying them by a different number of categories. I'm going to add some more categories to make it a little more granular in the future. So back to you, Eric.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Let me go ahead and re-share my screen, and we will finish things up then now. All right. All right, very good. Well, thanks, Anthony. That is fantastic. So if you didn't catch any of those, if you didn't catch some of those links, again, don't forget they're all in the agenda. So Kids Search, Anthony's iSafe resources, then he's got a few other things that are in here. So definitely take advantage of those. And the Kids Search one, I did appreciate. Anthony came across that, and I thought it was really nice. I agree. It's a nice kid-safe search engine. It piggybacks off of Google, but it has all these filters on top of it. And I thought it was actually really good if you're looking for a safe place for kids to search until Google comes up with, you know, something else, which I know they've been talking a lot about doing kid versions of all their stuff. They got the kids version for YouTube now. They've been talking about doing a kids version of Chrome. We'll see, but for now, Kids Search looks like a really nice option. All right. Well, other than that, it looks like most of the questions did get addressed. I did see somebody added a extra comment here about YouTube, saying that sometimes categorizing your video as education can also help with getting marked as unsafe. I always do categorize mine as education, but that is a good point. It might help people. I do see there was a question here about losing an add-on called Responses Rearranged. There used to be one that could be used for forms to rearrange the responses, and they said it had disappeared, but now don't forget, yes, there is now the shuffle response order is built right into Google Forms, so you do have that ability without having to have an add-on. And then somebody asked, is there a good way to find out what are upcoming conferences with deadlines for proposals? And Anthony said that He tried to set something like that up in the past. That might still come back, but for right now, we're working on adding those sort of things to our PD calendar that's available on our Tech Integration site. And then he also mentioned that Chris Hamady put together some of that, and there's a link to what he has put together. And of course, don't forget, our SPARCC conference is coming up August 7th, and we are accepting proposals right now as well. And whoops, Anthony, I think the SPARCC conference has the wrong link on it there. We may have to fix that. We'll have to fix that link. But it's conference.apps.sparc.org, and we are taking proposals. So we would love for people to submit proposals for our SPARCC conference.
Eric?
Yes?
Just not to interrupt you, but what I'll start doing is on the professional development calendar, I'll start throwing in some dates for proposal deadlines, because I know a lot of the people that are watching our PD are also providing PD. So you'll notice I just threw in the one for the FTC because it's coming up in May.
Good. Good. Yeah, so here's our conference site, and the call for presenters is now on there. We're looking for those by May 20th, please. And I will fix this link here real quick, put in the correct link for that. There we go. So now that link is ready for you to go to. All right, well, we are pretty much out of time. I want to thank Brian. I want to thank Nikki. I want to thank Jessica. I want to thank Anthony for being in the Hangout. I want to thank everybody else who attended here in person or who watched live. We really appreciate that and hope that you find these to be a valuable way to get caught up each month, as well as look ahead at some neat new things. So as always, please plug into the communities from this handout, from our agenda. We do have links to both the SPARCC Google user group as well as the GEG Ohio group, so please visit those, join those communities, and any way that you would like to be involved in the meetings in the future. We would love it if there's something you want to share, a neat thing. The more you talk, the less we do, and that's good. That's better. So we definitely want to get more people involved as time goes on. Don't forget, next month we are at the Ohio Google Summit for a special 8 a.m. User group meeting rather than the one that we normally do from 9 to 11. So if you can't be there in person, feel free to jump into the Hangout or watch it live or catch it recorded. Other than that, thank you guys so very much. As always, I'm going to end the broadcast here, and you guys have a fantastic weekend.